Hey guys, it's Kenny here. Today we're going to talk about Turkish basketball. As a fan, I wanted to gather my thoughts and share them with you. And I also wanted to show you a model in Turkish basketball and also talk about the ways to, in a way, copy that model to further improve our teams. I love basketball and I love Beşiktaş Gain. I have been watching all of their games for the last 2 years. Beşiktaş Gain have been slowly but steadily improving with coach Dusan Alimpiyevich for the last 3 years. Fans crowd Akatlar every game or sometimes basketbol gelişim merkezi. Beşiktaş Gain have good players such as Jonah Matthews, Berk Uğurlu, Yiğit Arslan, Devin Dotson, Anthony Brown, Ante Zizic, Brenton Lemar, Ismail Kamagate, Morgan and all. Okay, inside we have a good coach, we have good players, a good team, and a good home atmosphere. But why do we still struggle to win against some teams? And why do we sometimes show cracks when it comes to the finals? Is it because we're fairly a new team, or do we need more funding to create a better team? Today, I want to answer these questions with you guys. To better answer this question, we need to compare. And to compare, we need a better model. An example that has been storming in basketball and in Europe. And instead of looking at NBA, we will analyze Fenerbahçe Beko, a model that's in front of our eyes. And we will dissect the very factors behind Fenerbahçe's long-standing success and longevity in the basketball world. And then we will talk about what we can learn from that and further improve Beşiktaş Gain and Turkish basketball. And who knows, maybe one day we can be a model that people talk about when they want to improve their teams alongside Fenerbahçe Beko. So let's start with the better example, which is Fenerbahçe Beko, a revered model in Turkish basketball and in Europe. Fenerbahçe Beko have a few key factors behind its success. First one, a long-standing basketball culture. Second one, regular and steady financial investments. Third one, working with the best coaches in the world because they have the best vision. And the fourth one being signing really good players. Let's take a closer look at some of these factors. So let's talk about the first factor, coaches. Coaches are the mastermind of a team, whether it's a handball team, basketball team, or football team. Without a coach, the group cannot manage itself. And when you work with a good coach, a tactical mastermind, a brain of the team, your chances are high of getting the titles and getting the championships. Also, a good coach will contribute to the improvement of the players. The reason Fenerbahçe Beko found their way at the top spheres of basketball and in Europe can be explained through the coaches they're working with. For example, Zeljko Obradović has played a significant part in this culture. So Fenerbahçe Beko brings in the best coaches who have impeccable vision, and they are used to managing stress and superstars. And it creates a dynamic where everything goes well because you have a coach, the mastermind of the team, and he is able to manage superstars, egos, and stress. The second factor is a strong financial foundation and sponsorship deals. Fenerbahçe Beko have a budget around 20 to 30 million euros. This is huge. Hence, it allows them to bring together the best players and create an expensive and strong squad. Sponsors like Beko, Ülker, QNB help Fenerbahçe Beko maintain this unprecedented financial freedom. The third factor is a modern infrastructure and establishment. Fenerbahçe Beko play its games at Ülker Sport and Event Hall. This hall has a capacity of 13,000 people. That means a home team advantage and an overwhelming pressure against guest teams, and also a substantial amount of profit made off of tickets. The more seats you have, the more tickets you will sell. And consider competing in Euroleague consecutively because Euroleague has 2 games a week. The fourth factor is the culture of winning. The winner identity that has been ingrained in the basketball branch. The club has obviously reinforced the perception of top and unbeatable with all of their achievements, titles, and cups. And this ingrained winner identity sometimes can create pressure over other teams. Imagine playing with that kind of team, and even before the game starts, you will feel like, oh, they're top. They're unbeatable. No one can beat them, so we cannot beat them either. And it creates a pressure and this is something good for that top and unbeatable team. So let's talk about what Fenerbahçe Beko did to deserve this winner identity. First, we have Euroleague. Fenerbahçe Beko became the first team to win Euroleague in 2017, and they won it again in 2025 in Abu Dhabi. And then we have Triple Crown. They have won the League Cup, Euroleague Cup, and Basketball Super Cup in 2024-2025 season, the first Turkish team to do it. And then we have something from NBA. On October 5th, 2012, Fenerbahçe Beko has won against Boston Celtics from NBA in Istanbul, 97 versus 91, and another victory against Brooklyn Nets in the USA. Let's talk about the fifth factor, which are fans. Fans are the heart of any competition, any sports organization, and Fenerbahçe Beko fans are a great pushing power behind the team. This is how it goes. The club creates funds and spends money on the basketball team. The fans buy merch, tickets, the team thrives, money comes in, and it all goes on like a circle. Okay, that was all I wanted to share with you about Fenerbahçe Beko. Let's talk about Beşiktaş Gain and what we can learn from them. So Beşiktaş Gain have a budget around 3 to 5 million euros. Compared to Fenerbahçe Beko, it is nothing. Still, Beşiktaş Gain do a great job with this limited budget, but we need a sustainable, lucrative basketball ecosystem and a winning culture to reach the standards of Fenerbahçe Beko. However, since these two teams differ greatly in terms of financial aspects and identity, this can only be done with time and patience, because Fenerbahçe Beko's success hinges upon a process that has been going on for over 20 years with great care and delicacy. So what can Beşiktaş Gain do to improve on this path? Let's get into it. So the first idea I have to improve Beşiktaş Gain is a deeper connection with Gain. So Gain is our main sponsor because we're called Beşiktaş Gain. And Gain is also a streaming platform. So I think our relationship can be deeper. For example, since Gain is a streaming platform, there can be exclusive behind the scenes before or after the games of our players and interviews, fun cooking shows like Chelsea do sometimes. They can only be aired on Gain. And Beşiktaş fans can have exclusive access to that type of content, and it will help the exposure of both parties. So the other suggestion that I have for Beşiktaş Gain is a multi-sponsorship model. We have Gain as our main sponsor and FIBA Banka and Goof on the side, but we need more sponsorship deals like that. Today is the 22nd of April, and yesterday Beşiktaş signed a sponsorship deal with Honor, a technology brand, and the club is expected to have more sponsorships like that because it will help both parties in terms of exposure and the budget of the team. And when you have a good budget, you have a chance to sign better players and have better circumstances. The third suggestion that I have for Beşiktaş Gain is a modern establishment and a sense of own home ground. Beşiktaş Akatlar or Beşiktaş Gain Sports Hall has a capacity of 3,200 people, and sometimes it's not enough for fans. And compared to Fenerbahçe Beko's 13,000 capacity, it's a baby sports hall. But it's crazy during the games, because with the noise, it looks like there are 20,000 people. But it's all we have. Akatlar can be transformed into a full-time living space that has VIP lounges to fit EuroLeague standards if the team gets to participate, a museum, an exhibition gallery for art galleries, Beşiktaş Kartal Yuvası, I guess it has one, but I'm not sure, and coffee shops, all under the name of Beşiktaş to fully claim the profit. It is not for the game days, it's a 24/7 living space. The fourth suggestion that I have for Beşiktaş Gain is a technical stability and a leader coach. Dusan Olimpijevich has an amazing energy, and he clicks with the team, with the fans, and with our culture. And I think this should be preserved, because when you watch him, he oozes this feeling of, I am one of you. The chemistry the team has with Dusan should be preserved. Dusan is a very smart and tactically fluid coach. He uses players efficiently and shows character against big teams despite the limited budget. Regardless of success, Dusan should be the boss of Beşiktaş basketball to implement a long-standing basketball culture into the club. Fenerbahçe Beko have done it with great care, delicacy, and planning over the last 20 years. So it takes time, patience, planning, and on top of that, a good coach who can lead you when you do all these things. Beşiktaş Gain take baby steps every season and they show improvement. But it is still a beginning. We still have a lot to do, a long way to go in order to emulate Fenerbahçe Beko's plan. Because they didn't do it in a year. They spent over 20 years to create that kind of atmosphere in the club. And Beşiktaş Gain's head-to-head game against Fenerbahçe in 2026 Turkish Cup final shows us that we are on the right path. But this will come to fruition only if we can manage to make it into a tradition and keep consistent actions towards this goal of basketball tradition. And to create this tradition, we need a constant cash flow, which will be possible through wins and fans, time and patience to improve as a team. Are we ready to grow? Are fans ready to support the team? When it's in a transition to create a tradition. Basically, it is the circle that the teams create with money and then it goes on with fans participating and contributing through support. And then that money eventually snowballs into even bigger amounts and the circle goes on. Basically, it all comes down to money, planning, and patience. I hope we can learn from Fenerbahçe Beko to further improve. And I hope Beşiktaş Gain can become a model one day for other teams to look up to improve as well. Okay, this is the end of our video. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope I taught you something about basketball today. Today is actually a milestone for Beşiktaş Gain because Beşiktaş will be playing with Burgbress in Istanbul and it is the first game of Euro Cup finals. So hopefully we will get the cup and start this basketball culture that we talked about. Until our next video, stay safe and take care of yourself.